crypto asset? Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
Welcome to Discover Crypto Live, where we bring you live content 5 days a week, and we got to talk about the markets today. Bitcoin, what is going on? Was Black Monday a hoax? Are there more gains, or is there more pain up ahead of us? We're here with Josh. We're going to talk about Ondo. We're going to talk about XRP. Major news for XRP. Could XRP be hitting above $10 in 2025? People would have thought you were smoking the hopium 12 months ago, but now it looks very possible. How are we all feeling today, fellas?
Feeling good.
Yeah, I mean, I could use some of that hopium that article's on, so I'm excited. Yeah, we definitely, the markets are feeling a little bit better. Black Monday didn't happen. So, yeah, I think we couldn't be more grateful than, seeing a lot of the green in the markets today.
Yeah, and folks, if you didn't watch last night's video, if we share the screen here, time to sell all crypto and walk away what I am doing. I go over a lot of historical context. We just put it out on X so more people can watch it. We look at 1987, we look at 2001, we look at 2000, 2008, and what happened the following days. Because I put out a short Black Monday, that's all fine. But what about the Tuesday? What about the Wednesday? And so go make sure you go watch that video, folks. There's a lot of good information in that. And basically, we predicted the pump that we're seeing today, especially in the altcoins. We have Bitcoin up about 1% today, XRP up about 1.6%, Solana up about 2.4%. But there's a lot of gainers right now. Look at HBAR. HBAR up 13%. And I hate to harp on the videos, but what did we just tell people about HBAR? So keep an eye out on that one. It was a little bit of a bearish title, but we talk about how the pump is around the corner. KuCoin shares up 12%, Aptos up 7%, Render and Avalanche and Cardano all up between 6 and 7%. We're going to talk about Cardano. I saw you talking about Cardano, Steve-O. Yes, when I talk about Cardano, it's going to be hopium. It's going to be the pumpamentals. But Josh, how are you feeling about Cardano now that it's dangerously close to 50 cents, well from $1?
Are you trying to convince me to buy DZ? Is that what's happening right now?
I know there's no amount of convincing I can do to get you to buy Cardano. Maybe I can get you to buy some SNEC in the future. That one probably has a little bit more upside, but are you feeling bullish or bearish on Cardano at these levels?
What I'm going to say is that I still think that dollar cost averaging to any of these blue chips, whether you think that's Cardano or you think that's Solana or that's XRP, I think definitely dollar cost averaging on those panic days are the best times to accumulate. I mean, the SPX rebounding here massively today, up 3.6%, up 10% from its bottom here. Not to say that this move is over. I think there's still a lot of headwinds we got to deal with, but we're watching the negotiations roll out from these tariffs. We were covering it last night, sitting there listening to gut-wrenching questions from the reporters. Man, oh man, we need to get a White House press pass so we can ask some better questions. It's like they asked the same question 10 different times, the same different way. But, ultimately, just looking at a lot of these altcoins, I think I'm very excited. I think we're, at an opportunity of a lifetime right now. I've never been one to, you actually were even saying this too, that, you don't tell your friends and families to necessarily pick up or dollar cost average in. And it's one of those moments. You're down 22%, you're down 23%. Everyone is the boy who cried wolf. Everyone's telling you that we're going to go lower. If you at all even nudge the idea that everything's going to be okay and you're somewhat optimistic, they're going to key your Tesla. So, it's ultimately one of those points. I think just look at the fundamentals, right? Bitcoin strategic reserves, the frameworks are getting put together. We just had the Stable Act created. I'm very excited for the upside here. So I think if you're in Cardano, I think Charles Hoskinson is a fantastic human being. I think they're going to absolutely crush it in this cycle. I think he had some good DCA points, DZ.
And speaking of good DCA points, I did tell people to buy. I was talking to my cousin. My cousin is a public school teacher in the Pacific Northwest, and it started about a month ago. I am curious about wallets. Is Cash App my wallet? And so I kind of walked him through the cryptocurrency landscape. This is the exact text that I sent him yesterday. Buy the dip, we rip higher. I bought Aave, Tesla, Bitcoin, and Cardano. So I am out there, putting my money where my mouth is, deployed another 10%. I said, if we continue to dip, I'll deploy another 10%. We didn't continue to dip, but I still have most of the cash on the sidelines for some of these altcoins that maybe are dumping, but not too bad. We have EOS and Quant down about 3% right now. Pi Network down about 17% for the week now. Pepe with a little bit of a decline, but we are also seeing a huge rip on Fartcoin. Fartcoin is ripping. It was up 27% not that long ago. I think when it was closer to the dip right here. Now it is only up 13%. TJ, I'm in a trade with Fartcoin. Do you think I'm longing or shorting?
I hope you're longing.
I'm sharding. Ha, no. All right. We're in the trade now. I want to share this. We're still in the Cardano trade from yesterday, but I've closed most of the trade here on Fartcoin, but we're now up 125%. We maybe have shorted the top there. And if we check in the Cardano trade, TJ, the entry looks even better now once we zoom out. Remember, we did this literally right before we went live. We're going to click the 15-minute, and it wasn't this dip. Managed to catch that little bit of a period right there. It looks like it was down there for about 10, 15 minutes. Still in or maybe about a third of the Cardano trade still. So keep a link in there in case we just keep ripping, folks.
Killing it, man. And I'll drop a link, guys, if you want to join along with us. You do get trade bonuses if you use L-Bank, which is one of our partners here. All you have to do is use our link, sign up with it, and make a deposit, take a trade, and you get some free money. So I'll drop that in the chat for you guys. I was actually curious because we're talking about both XRP and HBAR, and I know they're both have very strong communities. I know we've got a lot of XRP holders in our chat, but I'm curious, do we have more XRP holders or more HBAR holders? So if you hold one or the other, like if you hold XRP, type XRP in. If you hold HBAR, type HBAR. If you hold both, type XRP and HBAR, because I'm really curious to see in this community which we have more of. I know we have a lot in XRP, but I'm just curious. I know HBAR has a strong community as well. A lot of times there's overlap between them. They're both making big moves behind the scenes institutionally. I know DZ's got a couple stories on the XRP things that are happening. Happened last night and this morning. I'm seeing a lot about that.
Ooh, look at all the XRP communities in the chat now.
The XRP army is strong. Do not fight the XRP army. I've learned that over the years for sure. So
yeah, now that they, I think we'll reclaim $2. Now that it blasted above $1, they're no longer XRP-ons. Now they're XR people. So you have evolved to people. Hope that feels good. Looking at the 1 hour chart on XRP, you see maybe starting to slow down a little bit. We are seeing potential weakness, or maybe turning around on the RSI on the 1 hour chart. Looking at the 5 minute, we are starting to peel back some of the gains, starting to see a little bit of bearish divergence on the small time frames. It doesn't mean this can't be invalidated. It's still a very short time frame. And we look at the 4 hour, maybe a nice little opportunity to get in right there. And we're going to cover some more XRP news in a second here. So let's just roll right into it. Ripple, this is some of the breaking news here. Ripple acquiring crypto-friendly prime broker Hidden Road for $1.25 billion. So they're acquiring this in a $1.25 billion deal to be the world's largest non-bank prime broker. Folks, I had to take a step back. What are we talking about? A prime broker? They deal in 7s and 11s and 13s. That's not what we're talking about here. Prime broker is a financial institution, often an investment bank, that produces a suite of services to large hedge funds and other sophisticated investors. So this is going to be for the elites. This is a large bank that's operating for banks. So a prime broker is a bank's bank, not a person's bank. This deal will make Ripple the first crypto firm to own and operate a global multi-asset prime broker. The acquisition aims to reinforce the position of Ripple's stablecoin. This is an institution-focused stablecoin launched by Ripple in December 24. Instead of waiting up to 24 hours to settle trades through fiat rails, Hidden Road now is using XRPL for clearing. This is the maybe significant part here. A portion of trades. We don't know if that means 90%. We don't know if it means 0.9%. And most consequently, using the stablecoin as collateral across its prime brokerage services. How do we feel about clearing a portion of trades? Are they trying to act like they're using XRP a lot more than they are, and it's only going to be a small amount? Or is this, maybe just trying to follow rules and regulations and don't want to use XRP for everything?
I think it's some of both. I do think one thing that Ripple does extremely well is market and keep people hyped up about what's coming, what's in the future. Ripple as a company, well established. They do have a lot of connections, but the actual material use of a lot of their products has yet to be realized. That doesn't mean people won't speculate on it. And again, most of this market is a speculation market. I think people forget there's there's Bitcoin, and then there's everything else in this space. And XRP is part of that everything else, obviously, just like a lot of things in crypto. It's all promises for the future. Some things have, other than outside of like DEXs and DeFi, we haven't really seen a lot of actual use of any of these concepts. You know, we talk about render a lot. That's another one we talk about where it's like, this could maybe happen, but then it also could maybe not happen the way that they're talking about it all. So that's my kind of 2 cents on it. It's, you got to wait and see how it's actually going to play out. A lot of people speculate on it. You can make the money on the speculation, but that's where you have to kind of take all the different data points in. That's where TA can help. That's where market cycles help. And let's be fair. Like if Bitcoin goes on a monstrous run, so will a lot of these altcoins. If Bitcoin has a dramatic pullback, these altcoins are going to pull back more, and it doesn't the fundamentals in a lot of ways don't matter nearly as much with a lot of these altcoins as it does with Bitcoin. But what, Josh, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's more or less, you know, I had this little article here, just XRP network activity collapses 65%. You know, with RLUSD, I'm very confident Ripple is going to succeed. I think the stable coin itself is going to be pretty valuable, but to DZ's point, it's going to be 0.9%, is going to be 90%. Are they going to be using RLUSD along as aside, you know, PYUSD and FDUSD and all these others, you know, stable coins as well? What I would really like to see is now and this is for the XRP community, is I would like to see the XRP development on their overall ledger. I would like to see Ripple maybe allocate more resources toward DeFi applications that are building within the ecosystem to really incentivize more development growth and ecosystem growth. But it's really going to be like you said, TJ, it's kind of a wait and see type of game here, because this also depends on the Stable Act and what we end up getting out of frameworks for stable coins within states. Because if states start issuing their own stable coins, are we going to see kind of a decrease in usability or user activity with the stables across these companies? Those are large competitors, especially if you're competing against, imagine of JP Morgan and BNY Mellon. And, you know, of course, you still got Circle, you got Tether, you got a lot of competitors. I think a huge part of this game is going to be the on-ramps with DeFi. So I'd like to see those applications built out, but XRP, they're in a good position. Ripple's in a great position. Brad Garlinghouse is, you know, right there on the board, helping advise with a lot of these, with a lot of the developments happening within the stable coins. So I think this is good news no matter what for anybody that is an XRP holder long term here.
All right. I would agree. We do have a $2 super chat before we dive back into XRP here. Feelings about Arrow after losing the 50-cent support. Well, looking at the Arrow chart here, you know, it is down bad. You look at the max price there, it's just taking a beating, but there is an important level for us to watch. So when Arrow, you know, we were calling it before the run up. I remember Josh, you know, being pretty bullish on it, put it on my radar. I became pretty bullish on it. You can see the second place of resistance acted as the first place of support, and this is all the way back in February 2024. So if you get a horizontal line, put it at the bottom of the wicks there, top of the resistance there, and you look at where we're at today, that is an important level and is where we're at as we speak. So, you know, there is another level of support. You can see the daily candle closed above that line. So I would be watching that level. To me, Arrow, great accumulation target. I would not hate anyone buying some Arrow.
And I'm even going to do this live right now. I'm going to buy $1,000 worth of Arrow.
There you go. There you go.
I like that. I like it because
this right now.
We've got a split chat right now. I see one person saying Arrow is sketch right here. Another Arrow is a dead coin. Another person saying Arrow is a great buy. Like we've literally got the polarization right here in the chat. But
yeah, I'm going to add to this bag.
I like it.
Yeah, go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead. I like that. You know, that you're buying it right here live. I agree. This level, like DZ mentioned, is right when Coinbase Ventures went in. That's what got our attention when we saw Coinbase Ventures was investing in it. It was the #1 thing on base. We knew that they were going to be pushing a lot of the volume that Coinbase was facilitating through this. So to me, yeah, I'm still as bullish as I've ever been on it. And this is where fundamentals do matter somewhat. When you can this is an application in crypto that actually is getting use, is getting volume, and that's why I said DEXs and DeFi are the main ones that actually have utility. You know, it's a chain that's generating revenue for the holders with VE Arrow. There you go.
It's one of the best looking altcoins when you look at DeFi Llama. You're just kind of looking at the stats across the board there. So yeah, I would say we're all pretty bullish here on Arrow there. Back to XRP though. First, this is breaking news, folks. First XRP ETF launches today. But here's what you need to know. So it's set to feature a rather unusual development as a brand new ETF is scheduled for listing on the New York Stock Exchange. The arrival of the ETF is unusual because it's a 2x leveraged product designed to utilize XRP derivatives instead of holding the cryptocurrency itself. Friend of the channel, Eric Balchunas, believes this might be a world first. A 2x ETF is launching tomorrow, the first ever XRP ETF on the market. Very odd, and potentially the first time that's ever happened in history that a new asset's first ETF is leveraged. Spot XRP still not approved, although odds now pretty high, and I would say they're very high after this latest development. And so that's why we're seeing a lot of activity in XRP. And breaking news, XRP just put out this ad. This is about 12 hours ago, I want to say, 4 a.m. Breaking news, stablecoin from Ripple Labs, RLUSD. Is it coming to Cardano? Ripple shows Cardano in the opening scene of the recent tokenization video. Is this a coincidence? Or is the stablecoin coming to Cardano? We've been making a lot of videos on this content. I've been talking about Cardano, a lot of the rumors. So I might have to dive in, put out another video tonight, see what Charles Hoskinson has talked about. TJ, you know, it's hard parsing or finding the exact Charles Hoskinson clips because he does like 3 or 4 50-minute, you know, kind of rambling live streams about a week. And not only that, what did he do? He just resurrected the dire wolf. Did you see that?
I didn't know.
He is a capital seed A investor.
He's part of that?
He's a seed A investor on the dire wolf.
I didn't even know that. I was just watching videos on that last night. That was he just wanted to go Rogan's
for those who don't know, you want to explain what we're not talking about Game of Thrones here.
No, so dire wolves were, I believe, to be extinct
For 10,000 years.
For 10,000 years, and I just started the episode, but Joe Rogan just had the guy that brought them back to life. I think he's got a couple pups, or at least he brought back a wolf itself. So I don't know if they've been doing genetic altercation or how that works or how that operates, but it's very interesting.
Going to be part of Super Soldier.
That, and then you're just like, yeah, Charles Hoskinson's an investor.
Making Cardano super soldiers.
Yeah, super soldiers.
With animal DNA.
Look, maybe I am bullish on Cardano. It's the Jurassic Park of crypto. You know, it's going to be... I don't know if that's good or bad, though.
I know he was involved with the woolly mammoth stuff, too, at one point. Yeah, same company.
So their next, I don't know, I would say release, product launch. I don't know what the heck you call it.
Pull this up. This is actually
animal. They're trying to do a baby woolly mammoth from a mostly intact woolly mammoth from the Siberian.
Yeah, if anybody wants to freak out real quick here, scientists genetically engineered wolves with features like extinct dire wolf. So they want to bring back woolly mammoths. They're going to be doing this with, you know, this is what's gonna end up happening. I'm telling you right now. They're gonna find some old 10,000-year-old, you know, bones or dinosaur DNA, and they're gonna draw it up. They're gonna think it's a cute, cuddly little creature, and they're gonna try to bring it back to life. And
a velociraptor.
It's
gonna pull a velociraptor.
I don't know if it's gonna be a velociraptor. They're gonna think it's like a, you know, a fluffy. It's gonna be like maybe a vegetarian type. I don't even know. I'm losing the names of the dinosaurs here. But ultimately, it's going to come out. It's going to be a Spinosaurus.
We got breaking news from Charles Hoskinson. Charles Hoskinson, remember, he's a seed A investor in this 8 minutes ago. George, talking about the author of Game of Thrones. George, I'm not saying you have to rush wins a winner, but we literally made a real life dire wolf before you finished it. Dang,
that's
shots fired. Honestly, George, hurry up and finish Wins a Winner. We're all waiting.
That's wild.
But yeah, so XRP utilizing, you know, back to Cardano, back to XRP here. XRP utilizing Cardano in its ad. Plus, Charles Hoskinson has talked about it. So tonight, I'll put out a video. I'll dive into his long talks. I'll find the clips. We'll clip it up for you, and we'll kind of talk about that and maybe the Bitcoin OS integration. Big things happening for.
I like this comment. Let's bring back Neanderthals. That's just any Democrat. There you go. Man, I'm just kidding. That was a bad joke. That was a good joke.
Oh no, I don't want to insult anybody.
If you could bring back one dinosaur, chat, I'm going to ask you right now. If you could bring back one animal 10,000 years ago, what would it be?
So when you said dinosaur, I was thinking like some of my old altcoins.
Oh, he's like bring back my portfolio.
I already brought back EOS, so you know that's much they could do. But I wanted to, real quick, if you guys hold Cardano or XRP, smash the like button. We've got almost 2,000 people in here today. A little slow on the likes. Got to get to at least 420 likes. You guys know the rule: 420 likes, then 690 likes, and then everything over that is a bonus. So if you could do us a favor, especially if you're on mobile, sometimes you have to turn the phone sideways to get that. Smash that like button. Really, really, really appreciate it. But back to the important stuff. What dinosaur are you bringing back, DZ?
I mean, Julio trying to eat a dodo. I kind of like that.
The egg. We have an egg issue. I think that'd be perfect. Dodos would be perfect right now.
I think, all right, I really like turtles. So was it the Stegosaurus that has the shell and the club tail? It's basically a turtle.
Oh, yeah. You're right. You're right.
Turtle, Stegosaurus.
That'd be crazy seeing that walk around.
Yeah. Oh, I want to ride a Velociraptor, but raise it from youth, and so like it only it's like protects me like a let's see, a cagey dog or something, like a
Who would want
Rottweiler.
dude, someone goes Megalodon. That is the last thing on earth I would
Yeah.
want back in our ocean.
We're seeing, let's see. Yeah.
That's
We
if
got
they are extinct.
T-Rex, Rooster
All right, that's a good
Dragons,
one. All right, we
Brontosaurus,
set
Anyway.
Rob up for that one.
Yeah.
Jar Jar Binks. No, nobody's saying pterodactyl, huh? Nobody wants dinosaurs flying over our heads.
I don't want
huh?
giant birds picking me up. Yeah.
I don't want him to poop on my
I
car.
like the saber tooth. That's kind of sick.
Satoshiasaurus.
I don't know. So good
Yeah,
question.
I think dodo. We got to bring back the dodo. I want to eat some dodo too. All right. Speaking of dodos, how about those Ripple holders? No, I'm joking. Kid. So people are pretty excited about this. There's a couple details from that ad I wanted to share here. This has led many to wonder: is Ripple signaling a collaborative framework with Cardano? Seems to be the answer is yes. While no official announcement has been confirmed, the deliberate inclusion of Cardano's branding cannot be overlooked as a coincidence. So tonight we're going to drop a video on it. Make sure you have on those notifications. But now let's talk about the $12 XRP. I know you saw that title. People probably thinking it's crazy. XRP could hit $12. This isn't just some rando with a PFP that's a monkey. This is Standard Chartered, one of the largest crypto banks in the world. Uniquely positioned, XRP is at the heart of cross-border payments, according to this report here. So they're saying it could hit $12.50, not by the end of the year, but by the end of 2028. They do have an end-of-year target for 2025, $5 XRP, and $8 by the end of 2026, $10 2027, and then by the end of 2028, that's when we get the $12 XRP. So let's just pause for a second. How do we feel about the predictions here?
$5.
$5 XRP, basically this cycle or this year.
So it could be, they're saying it could potentially be 2026.
They're predicting it will hit $5.50 by the end of this year and $8 by the end of 2026.
I actually think that's feasible.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable. I just think my timeline's starting to shift a little bit. I think we could bleed into 2026. I'm starting to be more and a stronger and stronger believer that the 4-year cycle, traditional 4-year cycle as we know it, is evolved, and we're not going to see it play out exactly the same way. So potentially $5 into 2026, and maybe if it continues through 26, maybe $8. But yeah, $5. We've been saying on this channel for a while, $5.89, just to tap the meme there. $5.89 for XRP, not $589.
Yeah.
Seems feasible if we get the cycle, like the kind of the Bitcoin super cycle that we're all predicting. And if we think that's going to happen that way, I think we continue accumulation into the summer. I don't think we see everything happen between, say, July and October, November. I think that bleeds into 2026, but we'll still have to wait and see. But you think reasonable as well, Josh?
I mean, I don't know if we're going to see $5.50 this year or $5.50. I just think those are reasonable targets for Ripple overall in the long term for the XRPL. But look, this is going to be the most unpredictable market ever. You had literally 2 days ago, yesterday morning, people were screaming Great Depression and that Black Monday was here and we're going to drop 30%. Now we're up 10% from the bottom of what they claimed is supposed to be a 30% drop. How many people fear and panicked out of the market yesterday? Probably way too many. I literally saw posts on X, people saying sell your 401ks and do all these tax loops and try to get out of this and save yourself. You're going to have no 401k. The fear mongering was at an all-time high. So I don't, you guys know this about me. I'm not the bullish hopium guy, 250k Bitcoin by the end of the year, but I'm definitely not the 55k Bitcoin guy here. So I think you're definitely right, TJ. I align with you on this is the end of the 4-year cycle. And that's primarily because of one thing and one thing only, and that is the breakaway of Bitcoin from the rest of your altcoins. As Bitcoin matures and becomes a digital commodity, for everybody it's also new, this is a great lesson for anybody that's new to crypto as well. If you're new to crypto, there's a very common belief within the crypto space that Bitcoin is going to be traded as digital gold. It is a digital commodity. It is the greatest commodity on planet Earth. It's most liquid asset, etc. If that's true, no matter what, the 4-year cycle that was traditional that we saw in 2017, 2021, etc., that is going to slowly shift, because instead of seeing Bitcoin and the entire crypto market perform every 4 years, I think the diminishing returns, but at the rate of mining and the adoption and et cetera, you're going to see Bitcoin become more and more mature and less volatile, very similar to gold. And at that point, then your altcoins are going to be perceived as risk on assets. And now we're at the point where this is no longer like, I mean, the crypto market's way, I don't know if you guys know this, it's way bigger than the stock market. So if $2 trillion flows into the stock market, that is between about 3,000 companies, at maybe 3,500 companies on the stock market today. In crypto, if $2 trillion pours into crypto, it's going into I don't even know if it's 20 million at this point, millions upon millions of cryptos. And I'm not saying obviously all those cryptos are going to be the benefit of that $2 trillion, but that's why I think it's going to be more sector based. And as this industry matures, you're watching real world assets, you're watching tokenization, you're watching Web3 gaming, you're watching decentralized finance, you're watching all these sectors emerge. I think it's going to be much more researched to be able to make an excessive amount of money in this next cycle rotation. And so for that, I would say, yeah, I think, you could see some upside this year towards 20. I think Q3 is going to be phenomenal. I think, once that is 6 months from now. And I honestly think the latter half of this year is going to be a lot stronger because you're going to have certainty in the market. You're going to have frameworks developed. More than likely by then, you're going to have almost all of your tariffs off the table with really strong trade negotiations. You're going to have small factories being developed. Probably my guess is $15 trillion in guaranteed investments coming back to the United States. And you're going to start seeing those employment numbers really kick into the market. And at the same time, see the energy sector deregulated, which brings down inflation massively. So really, once we're past this first month or two, and I'll end here with my rant, but is ultimately, I think you're going to see stair-stepped like wealth kind of created over the next 4 years. Kind of similar to what you saw between after the dot-com bubble. This was you're probably looking at 2002, 2003 was the bottom of that market, all the way up to 2007, or for example, 2010 all the way up to 2016, where it's going to be a pretty strong economy, as well as stock market overall for the course of the next 4 years. It's just going to be sector-based.
All right. Well, speaking of price predictions here, well, let's do that XRP prediction.
Well,
so looking at the $5 one, I just want to run out the flagpole, the pennant here. So we got a little bit of a bull flag pennant. The way you would measure it is from the breakout of the flag. You would put the length of the pole. Do not do this on logarithmic chart. You get like a $20 XRP. But this is giving us a $5 XRP. And even if it happens at the very last portion, you're still looking at 477, so pretty bullish. Now if you do a log chart, that's when it starts getting a little bit nutty here. That's when you're really starting to look at like some insane valuations. Let's just run this. Log chart gives you $14 XRP. So that one's going to be a little bit tougher. Now back to a little bit more realistic timeline or price prediction here. Cardano price action analysis. The bulls are eyeing $1 a minimum momentum surge. And this article just has a couple key patterns across some key timeframes. A falling wedge on the 4 hour. So if we look at the 4 hour here, that's what we have. You can see definitely a nice little falling wedge. Where this plays out, of course, no one's going to know. But typically a falling wedge is going to be a bullish sign. It's typically going to break to the upside more often than not. I don't know if we need to do all of them. Double bottom on the 30 minutes. So let's just look at that real quick. Double bottom. I suppose they mean this or this. But either way, Cardano looking pretty strong at these levels. But turn on notifications. We'll be putting out a Cardano video tonight. But let's talk a little Bitcoin here.
Well,
Or
perfect. Because a lot of the chat keeps talking about in the last few about 10 minutes or so, we're seeing a pretty substantial pullback on the Bitcoin price, down about 2%. So yeah, let's go check that out real quick, and then we can
5 minute chart. Then we'll get into the Bitcoin articles here. Might have to check that Fartcoin short, or the shart is what you like to call it. And Bitcoin's still pretty far away from this little support level. If you're wondering where's this, oh, that is not even a support level. That was me just looking at all the dips when we were I believe oversold RSI, looking at some of the just recent price action. Bitcoin, yeah, losing a lot of the gains here. Wow, the 1 minute chart looks pretty bearish, but maybe the bulls can hold support here. We definitely have a little bit of the smallest of time frames, a little bit of a bull div. Then we want to see it roll into the 5, the 10, the 20, then the hour, et cetera, and then Bitcoin can firmly or bounce from that level. Josh, is there a level you would want to DCA into more Bitcoin? Since you're, let's just say a 78 today.
Yeah.
What price target hits where you're like, oh, let me deploy more money?
I mean, I think yesterday at that 73K or 74K was insane. And that was your target for most of your Wyckoff traders. So dude, shout out to, again, anybody trading that Wyckoff. Crypto Crank absolutely crushed it in the Telegram. It's like that was your DCA point. And so like now market's moving. Let it breathe here. You had a great entry. I mean, I just picked up some Aerodrome. I think it's still, there's decent entry points here, but yeah, I mean, we just bounced off a and we technically still didn't hit it. $73,741 or so is going to be that that ultimate retest there. So I think there is a chance you go down to that key range here. I'd imagine your trader is going to be really focusing on that here, but it really all depends on the SPX. The SPX here opened up 4% today. On the daily here, it's actually not down. It says it's a red candlestick now, but we are up still 2.55%. So obviously seeing 4% there, any institutional traders that just made a decent amount. I mean, they made from the bottom here that bought, they were up anywhere from 8 to 10% at the beginning of this morning. So, it's going to be this right here, not normal. Look at this. I mean, massive gaps on the SPX, massive gaps on the SPX. And we're moving by massive $2 trillion, $3 trillion candlesticks, which is just like massive amount of money. So, if you're looking at these ranges, just be cautious. But I still think that, DCA and NA to really any blue chip here is going to be really good for you in the 3 to 6 month outlook.
Yeah, I agree with where do you go? Nick right here saying anything under 79 I'm buying. And I've been saying that for a while, guys. I just want to kind of reiterate that. Obviously, there's certain levels you're watching as a trader. If you're a day trader, that 79 was a clear level, 74 is a clear level. Some people are calling for as low as 72. And those are all great. There's high probabilities that a lot of those got hit. We got very close. I think we did hit 74 on certain exchanges over Sunday night. Monday morning, depending on where you are. I think those levels are very valid, and there's reasons people are charting those, and we could likely hit them. That being said, most people that are buying and accumulating crypto right now don't need to worry about the exact bottom. And I've said it before, I'll keep saying it just to keep reminding you guys. For most of you that watch this show every single day, it's about buying near a bottom and selling near a top. So if you buy anything below 79 or call it 80, anything in the 70s, I think on Bitcoin is a great buy. And anytime you get this opportunity, I'm saying sell a car, sell something you don't need at your house, sell anything you have, find an extra way to generate more money so you can take advantage of this dip. Because a year from now, 2 years from now, when Bitcoin's well over 100K, when a lot of people are calling for 200K, 220, 250, 180, again, it doesn't really matter if you're at 180 or if you're at 220. If you bought at 74, 75, 78, none of that matters. As long as you're buying near the bottom, which it's very similar to when we were seeing the collapse happen before. 20K was an obvious level. I'm talking back November 2022. 20K was a clear, hey, it's going to probably bottom around 20K. That's previous cycle all-time high. It wicked down to 17 or maybe 16.9. It wicked a little below 20K for a couple days. And if you bought there, you nailed the bottom. Congratulations, pat yourself on the back. But if you bought it 22, 20, 24, 27, another big level was 28. If you bought it 28, which a lot of us did, a lot of people who watch this channel did, and you've done very well, you're not upset that you bought at 25K or 28K and it went a little bit lower. You're very proud of yourself for buying at those levels. The same will be true at the levels that we're at right now. If you're buying at 74, you're buying at 79, if you're buying at 76, you're going to be very happy that you did so when the price of Bitcoin's 200K.
Well, let me ask you the question that everybody's talking about right now is like, what are the odds that you think we go back to 55K? Like a lot of people are talking about a pretty significant 55% trace that we've seen in
1 in 5.
1 in 5 chance.
It's like 20%.
20% chance.
That seems reasonable.
That's what a lot of people are concerned with right now is like, are they buying too early? Can they buy, $20,000 cheaper?
I think 69K, huge support. That was 2021 high, but I also think 61, 62K, also huge support. That was the first half of 2021 high.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't
look at those levels.
I would almost put 50K as a much lower likelihood because then
like
you
5% odds.
Maybe 10.
Well, it's just like the SPX peeled back 25. Like the SPX would have to peel back another 20%. Like it would be like it'd be like one of the most it'd be the most historical correction in the world for me to believe that we're going to go to 55K.
Or Michael Saylor gets in a car accident.
Which
there's weird things.
Well, no, that would be
happen.
bullish. His
yeah,
crypto would be locked up.
His
personal,
crypto, but not MicroStrategies.
Right,
two different
and they've got redundancies there. It's not like Strategy as a company folds because the
yeah.
owner.
When he says when I die, my Bitcoin goes with me, he doesn't mean MicroStrategies 500,000 Bitcoin. That would be excellent. Wish we meant that, but I don't think anyone would ever buy MicroStrategy stock if that was the case.
Bitcoin is down. It dropped 31%.
Oh yeah, look at it. Going live here on the 1 minute chart. Bitcoin is losing that support here, about to lose the bullish divergence there. And I think I need to go ahead and close more of this fart coin short. We do have a $10 super chat while we're looking at Bitcoin on the 1 minute. TJ, Josh, D's, miss you guys. Everyone's gonna be fine. So,
hey,
the Carney.
That's Damon. Shout out to Damon.
Damon.
Yeah, yeah.
What's up, brother?
Crypto Damon, yeah.
What's going on, man?
Yeah, so you're talking a 45. I wanted to do the math there for 55K. Like, so the SPX dropped 21%, and Bitcoin dropped 30% from where it's at. So to drop to 50%, that means the SPX, which would be about a third or 2/3 of that, 2/3 of 50, which you can give me the math easy.
2/3 of 50 is 30.
30. There we go.
No,
it's like almost
33 and a third.
Are we?
Yeah, 33.
33 and a third.
Our math ain't too hot there.
Oh, well, yeah, I wasn't ready. It took me 3
There you go.
seconds, and
So
I apologize.
4,100 on the SPX.
Yeah, we'll see. I do want to look at
That's crazy to
Bitcoin
think about.
on the 1 minute, still just losing more and more value. Bitcoin is dropping as we speak. We're going to talk about who is dumping their Bitcoin in 1 second. I need to go ahead and close more of the fart coin short. And look at that. The Cardano long is doing good while the short is doing good. So we maybe time these pretty
Dang.
well. So I'm going to go ahead and close half that trade in a second. But first, who's selling Bitcoin at this level? We have the answer. I know who's selling Bitcoin. It's you. No, it is Bitcoin short-term holders. They are selling at losses bigger than the FTX crash. And so if you're wondering who the hell is selling their Bitcoin, it's the paper hands, it is the weak hands, and they're selling at levels that we really haven't seen in recent memory. And so what happens after short-term is done capitulating, TJ.
The big pumps,
Big pumps,
Yeah.
baby, the big rips. It starts ripping. Speaking of ripping, this guy ripped his Bitcoin and just flushed it down the drain. I don't want to get too deep because it gets really technical on why. Panic Bitcoiner mistakenly pays 60,000 Bitcoin and fees. He paid 3/4 of a Bitcoin in transaction fees.
Jesus.
Why is totally insane. It's a replaced by fee, transaction fee. They really dive into the weeds here. But, we're kind of, people are trying to guess and speculate why. He might have meant to use 30 sats. And if you don't know what a sat is, there's 100 million in every one Bitcoin. So it's just a fraction of a Bitcoin. He meant to use 30 sats, but due to haste or fat fingers, butterfingers, did 305,000 sats there. So, that one cost him. That one, is it 100K? It's 100K, right? 100K sats per Bitcoin, or is it 100 million?
100
it's
million.
100 with the comma,
100.
and I don't know if it's 2 commas or 1.
No, it's 100 million.
100 million. Okay, so
Yeah.
it is 2 commas. 305 sats wouldn't be 75%. So maybe they meant 305 million. But either way, very costly mistake there. But we also have Larry Fink. Markets on edge after Bitcoin death cross and Fink's recession warning. What comes next? Watch last night's video. I go over what comes next. Really, I'm trying to speculate here. Do you think Larry Fink is trying to shake people out of the markets? He's dooming and glooming that we could fall another 20%.
Yes, I think so. Absolutely. I posted that on X and people were asking about. I mean, I think because you got to look at what he said. He said it's possible, and of course it's possible. We just talked about it being possible, and it's not saying it's likely, not saying it's going to happen. It's possible, and sure, if we enter a massive global, beyond a trade war, an actual real physical war, and something, we had another catastrophic black swan event, it's possible. It's at a point now where a giant event could, break things, so to speak. Does that mean it's likely? No. And so I think, and you didn't hear him saying this 6 months ago, by the way. You didn't hear him talking about markets breaking then. You always hear them pushing it and saying negative things right when the market is kind of at an inflection point. And to me, that screams he's trying to milk every bit he can out of this dip to accumulate as much as they can. These guys know they have influence. They know there's laws around what they can and can't do. So they're very careful with their words, but watch what they're doing, not what they're saying. That's what we tell people on this channel over and over. And what are they doing? They're buying the crap out of this.
And I pulled up the exact article here because I love that you brought that up, because this is what he actually said. So most CEOs I talked to would say we are probably in a recession right now. That is from Fink talking to the Economic Club of New York on Monday. The tariffs will lead to higher prices, adding to inflationary pressure. Still, the leader of the world's largest asset manager, again, BlackRock, said, and I quote, "This is more of a buying opportunity than a selling opportunity."
There you go.
And that is, again, in the long term. He also
look
goes on
at
to
him.
say that doesn't mean we can't fall another 20%. So yeah, again, it
I
came
think he's
off
head
as
to the upside.
What's that?
I think he's hedged to the upside.
I think he's definitely hedged up to. He says this is his last quote here, and this is Fink said stock market declines are hurting average people and will affect their spending. But the reality is 62% of Americans now invest in equities. The market impact is impacting Main Street, he said. The turmoil is going to freeze more and more consumption, and I think we're going to start seeing that really, really quickly.
Don't sell your Bitcoin to this guy. I mean, look at him. He is trying to steal your Bitcoin. This guy wants your Bitcoin. He is greedily looking at your Bitcoin wallet. This is Larry Fink. In case you're wondering, Larry Fink is the CEO of BlackRock, one of the world's largest asset managers. And this is a picture of him waving goodbye to a bus full of school children as they drove off a mountainside. Allegedly. Obviously, that was fake. All right, now we do have potential reasons why we could start ripping from here. And Scott Bessent says we're going to see deals made with major trading partners very soon. This is breaking from this morning, about an hour and a half ago. This as he was walking up to, I think, the White House lawn. I think you're going to see a couple of big trading partners do deals very quickly. So we could be seeing a potential end to some of the tariffs, and that's going to lead to risky assets pumping. And if we look at the CoinDesk 20 performance, HBAR, a huge pumper here. Nearly all assets are trading higher. Aptos, Solana, Cardano, Avalanche, ICP, Link, Litecoin, XRP, SWI. I want to point something out. Now, Litecoin, I think, is maybe gets an asterisk because it's like a legacy coin. You still see it on Fox Business News. And I think people are just like, oh, it's been around a while. Lindy effect here. But you want your altcoins to outperform the rest of the market. And on days where it's green, if your altcoin was lackluster today, that could potentially be a sign that it's not going to perform that well over the rest of 2025. And I would say this is a great opportunity. I'm trying to get to it here. Not Cubic. I can give a damn about that. I'm trying to show you this here. Find your altcoins that are outperforming today. These are probably going to be the altcoins that are going to do well in 2025. Render, was beaten down a whole lot. Maybe that's why it's pumping a lot. But I guess the Aptos doing well. Avalanche doing well. Cardano doing well. Well, I hate to say it, maybe even VeChain can get back to 25 cents. Maybe not 25 cents, but that's a good metric for reallocating your portfolio. TJ, any big movers you're seeing on that CoinDesk 20 that stands out to you as a good performer for 2025? I know we got a lot of ICP fans in the Disco fam here.
Yeah, the one that Solana obviously is one that's beaten down pretty bad right now. I was looking at some stats yesterday. They've seen a huge uptick in their TVL, like massive uptick in their TVL compared to their price. So that's interesting, which is total value locked. HBAR, Aptos obviously have a lot of institutional stuff, but Avalanche, the two that are most interesting to me on there right now that we don't talk about as much, I feel like they're kind of flying under the radar. Avalanche would be that pick, and then Solana. I think a lot of people know about Solana, but I think that one's still a little bit of a sleeper. Obviously, we talk about a lot of those. We like Cardano, we like Link, we like
love
SWI, Chainlink. But Avalanche, I feel like is making a lot of really big plays. I like the way that they've got off the grid, which kind of touches on retail very, very much, and then they've got a lot of flex.
Off the grid. That's that new game where you're a British citizen and you post a meme.
Yeah.
No. And then you got to like run and you're like Tommy Robinson, getting away from the, what do they call them? Tories, the lorries, something. They have a weird name for the cops in the hats.
No, it's that big battle royale that launched a while back. It's kind of the best thing we've seen from Web3 gaming in a long time. So I like their angle there. And it's also a very flexible blockchain in the sense that it can adapt to a lot of different needs for a lot of different use cases, whether it's government, whether it's private, whether it's public. So that I think is pretty interesting, and we'll see. We haven't seen that necessarily materialize yet. It is a top. What's it? Is it top 20 or is it right outside? It's 15.
Maybe
top 15, especially if you take stables out. So a lot of again, this is kind of comes back to what I was saying earlier. Mostly speculation on it. There is some use. It's definitely not comparable to Bitcoin and Ethereum or even Solana. But that's one that I've got my eye on there to do well in this next cycle.
God, such a weird looking chart when you're used to 4-year cycles. Avalanche chart, we were pumping at one point in 2021, and it does pass one of the DZ metrics here, put in a new all-time high in H2 2021. So when Bitcoin hit its new all-time high, it also hit a new all-time high. Kind of want to see that if your token was around last season. Speaking of CoinDesk and the HBAR, this is one of the reasons we're seeing HBAR pump. Chainlink standard for the CCIP officially live on Hedera mainnet. So they're now a member of the Chainlink scale via the HBAR Foundation. So HBAR now can employ Chainlink CCIP, which is going to make it a little bit easier for a firm like BlackRock to use it. So now you can expect to
And
see
now they
this
can bring,
guy
yeah.
is going to be holding your HBAR.
I was gonna say now they could bring all their OF content from off chain to on chain. So
Oh god.
that's a huge win there for Hedera Hashgraph, dude. Little
People-
barbarians, dude. Barbaric.
They would pay me to keep my clothes on. What are we? What about DCAing into Near? I think Near is a solid project. My entry point into Near. One of the reasons I haven't been accumulating Near, I sold a little bit into the pump, and my accumulation is just so low. I think I'm still up, a decent amount. So people really like Near. Near is just in a tough battle with a SWE, with an Aptos, potentially HBAR and some capabilities. It's just a crowded market, the L1 market. And so that's kind of what they're trying to do. They also are closely linked to AI. And so when AI pumps, Near pumps. So right now, AI is just a little boring. That's all. Now, are we ready to talk about the China devaluation? Have you guys seen some of that?
I don't. It depends. I've seen a lot about China and China tariff stuff, but I don't know what you mean when you say devaluation.
So People's what is it? The People's Bank of China, the PBOC.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, let's back up a little bit. This is from Zero Hedge. I'm gonna click on this post first. Beijing just crossed a line in the sand. The Bank of China fixing was on the other side of this devaluation. So if you don't know, People's Bank of China kind of controls the currency valuation. Decades past, they're accused of currency manipulation a whole lot. So people would say, man, you're manipulating our currency too much. And so they have now crossed this devaluation line. So this is the line they don't like to cross. You can see the red line staying above this area. They just crossed this. And some people are saying this is like the line of no return. So once you've passed the 720 devaluation line, it's showing that you're going to be real loose with your money printing. So of course, China hitting at devaluation is a huge risk. China, $60 trillion in deposits, 3x more than the US. If capital starts to flee, if Chinese capital, Chinese millionaires and billionaires looking at their currency and saying, well, it looks like it's going to get weaker. So we got a lot of Chinese citizens looking at their big basket of currency and they're like, well, China's about to make my money less valuable. And so if capital starts to flee from all these people seeing their money becoming less valuable, it will have huge consequences. We saw it in 2015 and 16. And this is what started the great move in Bitcoin from $200 to $20,000. So they're calling it catastrophic, but if you're holding Bitcoin, it's great. If you're holding Chinese currency, that's where you get the catastrophe here. And China, this is Lark Davis's point here. China was the first country that started printing us out of the bear market bottoms in 22, 23. And Chinese devaluation could send Bitcoin to Valhalla once again. This is Arthur Hayes talking about it, and we got it broken down in this article. China's tariff response may mean more money flowing into crypto, according to Arthur Hayes. So the People's Bank of China could provide the catalyst to resume the Bitcoin bull market. If not the Fed, then the People's Bank of China will give us the Yahtzee ingredient, says Arthur Hayes. He says if the Chinese central bank devalued its currency, the narrative that Chinese capital flight will flow into Bitcoin. And it worked in 2013, 2015, 22, 23, and can work in 2025. It's not just Arthur Hayes. It's not just some of these other smart people, Zero Hedge. We also got Bybit co-founder Ben Zhao saying China will try to lower the value of the yuan to counter tariffs, adding historically when the yuan drops, a lot of capital flows into Bitcoin, which is bullish for Bitcoin. So we got a very just classic case of basically a Bitcoin catalyst for Bitcoin to pump, and it looks like China could be leading maybe the next 1 or 2 months here.
Yeah, I agree. Alex, I see your super chat. We'll get to that in just a second. But yeah, this is something I've talked about for a while. I've been saying for many, many years on this channel that we are in a trade war and have been in a trade war since, this exactly this article you're talking about, 2015.
Since the Titanic.
Well, really just most of the 2010s, really, and beyond. We've been in a currency war with China of who can print, let people borrow, and then who can devalue their currency faster. And we print some and they print more, and then they print some and we print some. And like we hold most of China's debt, China holds most of our debt. And so it's like once they're holding our debt and we're printing and printing and printing, it's a strategic advantage. And so it's kind of like what we're seeing with the tariffs now. It's just a lot more overt with the tariffs. It's a lot more prominent. It's putting it in the people's face. They're trying to get political favor around this stuff or political dissidence around this stuff, with depending on which side you're on. But this is nothing new. This is trade war that's been going on for a very, very, very long time. And I do believe we have the unequivocal advantage of having the reserve currency, and that's why we've been able to throw our weight around in this space for a very long time. China, they can posture, they can show strength, they can do what they're doing now, but at the end of the day, you know, we have the cards, as Trump likes to say. Like they could cause some short-term pain, but it would devastate themselves long-term. And I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're just going to bluff. So I do think we're going to see massive money printing coming. We've been showing you guys the global M2 money supply chart for a long time. That when that global liquidity ticks up, that's always when we see Bitcoin really go, you know, take off to the races. So all of that stuff, I think, is going to play out exactly the way DZ just outlined. China will print first, and most of the rest of the world has already been printing to save their markets, to hold their economies intact. China has been already, and they're going to have to. And to DZ's point, that means, you know, billionaires wait a minute, we're printing a bunch more yuan. Maybe I don't want to keep all my cash and want yuan. Maybe I need to put it in a safe haven asset. Maybe buy some gold. Maybe buy some Bitcoin. That's already happening. Once they print, then the U.S. prints, you know, so which turns into rate cuts, turns into quantitative easing, and then we'll increase the supply of the dollar. That's been going on really since the 70s, is the increasing supply of dollars and fiat in circulation. That is what drives prices up for Bitcoin. So I think it's going to...
Do you think there's, and excuse the P word here, do you think there's a little fear porn because Trump is the president?
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's
Chat, do you think so? Yes or no?
Yeah,
I've heard an allegation. I don't know if it's true. I haven't really. They're saying, well, if you go to the news yesterday, nonstop, just showing the stock market, showing the sea of red. Today, it's all green. None of the news organizations are showing the stock market today.
Yeah. It's I mean, I know you know this too, but it's seriously a lot of this is the most emotional. I would imagine, even though you have 62% of your market exposed to your equities now. You guys are talking. I would want to know the amount and the percentage of traders that are emotionally capitulating out of these.
You saw the short-term holders in Bitcoin. I mean, they're capitulating.
I mean, there's going to be people that capitulate, but I think the results of the presidential election, like I think everybody can agree with this. Our markets are more emotional than ever. Is like you're talking. Literally last Christmas, people were saying if you voted for somebody, don't spend Thanksgiving with your family.
The fake rumor yesterday.
What was
the pause? The 90-day pause that wasn't real,
and it wasn't
$2 trillion.
Yeah, and it's so. My point though is just like the retail emotional involvement this cycle. I would say is 400 times more than anything we've seen. I would say it's even worse than. Think of it this way: between COVID and 2008, 2008 was a great financial crisis. Our banking, the entire fractional banking system, pretty much collapsed. 2020, COVID-19, national pandemic. Literally, entire governments and nations shutting down. Millions of people, like China, they're literally burning bodies in the street, cremating them, right? Today, we're talking about tax on imports, and we are at lower levels than we were in 2008 and in COVID-19 in some ways. Like, if I think this is so fear-mongered and overly miscalculated that it's just going to end up being one of those best times to absolutely buy the dip, dollar cost average, and hop in. And when 3 months from now, maybe you don't agree with this, but 3 to 6 months from now, you're going to look back at these dates. You're going to look at these price points and go, man, that was an emotional roller coaster. It was a circus, and definitely there was way overreaction in the market. So I agree with you. I think it's the most emotional market ever. And we see that not only in our views and our content and, in society and politics and the markets, it's just, and I think it's only going to get worse, unfortunately.
I always wonder, who do we blame more? Is it Roaring Kitty or Dave Portnoy?
Dude, Dave Portnoy is a perfect example. I mean, he's an emotional roller coaster too.
Yeah, he had inside information on Libra and still lost millions.
Still lost money. Yeah, and then he wants to blame the admin for the. It's like, dude, Dave Portnoy is just one of the worst traders. I love Dave Portnoy. I love his content. I love like Barstool Sports motivated me to do a lot
out to
of
Miss
things
Peaches.
But yeah, dude, I think I've never seen Dave make a good trade. I don't even know if he's ever made a good like a sports bet.
His Barstool sale was probably good, but yeah, when it comes to trading equities,
the selling was, he built a phenomenal. That's not trading though. He built a great company, good at building. But every time I see him or he's going viral about stocks, it's him losing money, getting scammed.
Yeah, and
That's
I will say, to
yeah.
be fair, that's the kind of content that goes viral more. That's what people love to see, other people losing
Sold
money.
the top of Bitcoin, or sold the
Yeah.
bottom of Bitcoin, bought the top of Bitcoin.
He has not had a good experience with Bitcoin. I will say that much. We got
Or
a
SafeMoon.
super chat here from
Safe
Alex.
Moon, I
Yeah,
totally forgot about
Yeah,
that
he has
one.
not
Oh
had-
my god.
he's had a terrible experience with crypto in general. But do you guys have any thoughts on Wormhole?
I'm
or
actually
Piff?
bullish on both of those. Both of those are going to be, I would say, utility-driven products that, Solana is going to be a big beneficiary of. Wormhole is a bridge that does a lot of chains, but you just see a lot of Solana bridge flows. Pith, they want to be the chain link of Solana. But the important note there is both of those have a product, both of those have revenue, and I am bullish on both those projects. I did scale into some Pith maybe a month or two ago. Obviously, it was a little too soon. Alts has still been getting beaten down. But actually, the way Solana's dumped, maybe it wasn't actually a bad move. I haven't looked at the Pith Solana chart, though, but I would say I'm bullish on both those projects.
And then what do you guys think, Morpho or Moonwell? This is kind of a
And
tough.
that is a basement question there.
Yeah.
I
Morpho.
keep getting the wrong base ecosystem plays. I called it with Arrow, but I was getting Swell, I think, instead of Morpho, and I'm still upset about that. So
Dude,
Yeah.
Morpho's got like multi-billions
probably
in TVL
Morpho.
now.
Yeah, I didn't get Morpho, so it's probably going to be Morpho.
I
Let
would
me
say-
actually pull up DeFi Llama right
Yeah,
now.
pull them up real quick. They're both Moonwell. They're both a lending protocol on the base chain. Morpho has a much larger percentage of the market share, and when you're going into a niche like this, like Morpho's competing with Aave, so to speak, and Moonwell is trying to compete with Morpho. So you're kind of picking. You're going down the ladder a lot more to go with
Down,
Moonwell.
down the valuation.
Not saying it's bad. Like it's a higher risk, higher reward potential. But for me, in my money, the two I hold, I hold Arrow and I hold Morpho. Those are my two base plays that I really, really like. Moonwell, not saying there's anything bad with it. And I think we're actually going to have the founder of Morpho on the channel here pretty soon to talk about this. Moonwell, not a bad play at all. I know a lot of people that hold it. I'm not trying to FUD it at all. But if I have to choose between those two, I'm choosing the one that's winning more market share. And that for me is Morpho.
Yeah, I pulled them up here. Moonwell here, $106 million value locked with a $59.3 million market cap. And they had one exploit that is noticeable on DeFi Llama back in 2022. So it's been a couple years, but they did have an exploit. Morpho here, go to Morpho, is going to be sitting at, drumroll please, $2.73 billion mark or total value locked with only a $238 million market cap. So massive value locked in this overall ecosystem. They're generating probably pretty significant revenue off those models, as well as a borrowing lending protocol. I think Morpho is a phenomenal play here, is an altcoin. But again, you guys got to realize both of these are microcap. So if Bitcoin goes to 55K or goes to 62K or goes to 72K, these are going to drop dramatically. These are going to be very, very volatile. However, the more value locked on an overall network, the more confident I usually am in that project. And of course, let's pull up Morpho here on the TA. We called this back at $1.30 before the run up. It went up to almost, I think, $4 at one point. Let me zoom out here for you guys. This is the daily. Yeah, it went up to $4.20 freaking cents here. So I would say that
down.
Yeah, Morpho has came down. It is at a fantastic entry point here. And I think this is going to be this is probably one of my favorite borrowing lending protocols. I'd say between Morpho for the base ecosystem, which I hold Morpho and Arrow, those are my base holdings. I would compare this probably to like a Plume if you're looking at a smaller market cap. Like, again, RWA play. By the way, Plume bounced beautifully off of this, which is really, really strong from a TA perspective. But that 9-cent entry point, I really don't think we're going to get into a better entry point than that on Plume. So I really, and maybe this is because I'm biased, but I personally believe DeFi with tokenization RWAs are the #1 sectors that I'm going to be hopping into these markets. Like, of course, I like DeSci and a couple other sectors as well, but I think those are emerging a little bit further along. The tokenization route, because of how stablecoins and the bills look like they're going to pass through our legislation, are going to require essentially any stablecoin provider to have either a second entity or partner with a DeFi lending protocol, so that way they can get access to yield products, because the stablecoin issuers won't be able to provide that yield themselves. So very exciting for those. And again, Morpho, dude, 2.32. What is that? Let me pull up DeFi Llama again. It is, let me go back here. $2.73 billion TVL. Awesome to see.
Also awesome to see XRP gifting the crypto memberships there. We're going to do a live members only stream on Friday, so make sure you stick around for that. Now let's talk about breaking news. U.S. Department of Justice disbanded the crypto enforcement unit effective immediately to comply with the Trump order. Kind of did a little bit of a quick deep dive on it. So the Justice Department disbanding, they're called the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team, and they're ordering the prosecutors to focus, this is wild, y'all, instead on criminal investigations involving cartels and terrorist groups that use digital currency rather than going after let's see, legal DeFi protocols that are trying to get their licenses and registration in the US. So instead of attacking the Winklevi or XRP leadership, they're now going after terrorists and cartels. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? So glad to see. I think that's really great news for DeFi. And so, you know, pick your DeFi project, probably going to do well. And speaking of DeFi, Trump is doing an airdrop. NFT holders, you're getting a free Big Mac. That's not what's happening, though. It's Trump-backed crypto firms' surprise stablecoin airdrop for the World Liberty Fi token holders, the USD1. You have to be an accredited investor. It's going to be good news for Justin's son and some of the people that invested in World Liberty Fi, but, you know, this isn't really going to affect retail all too much. And they want their stablecoin to be for entities, for institutions, for banks, not so much, you know, replacing Tether or anything like that. So that's the news there. Checking in on the trade. Yeah, we're 112% on the ADA long and 150% on the fart coin short, or the shart, as I like to call it. And I might go ahead and close the rest of that just because starting to see some green candles, and fart coin might just keep ripping. So be careful. Shorten meme coins, especially ones like fart coin, which could be the new money laundering altcoin. You know, if I don't think that's a bad theory whatsoever. Josh, what do you do you get like one of those patented Josh Long live streams going on? Are you going to work on an upload?
I'm trying to figure out what is maybe chat knows. Is there any major events here tonight that we should be live streaming for you guys? I don't see anything too much on the schedules here. Actually, what is Mayor Adams doing from New York right now? He is just live. Okay, so I don't know what we're going to cover here tonight. Maybe we'll open some trades, go live later this evening. I'm going to be looking for any major events. I'm trying to cover all breaking news with you guys. So we'll look probably over the next course of the next 2 to 3 hours. I imagine there'll be some breaking news that comes out of that. So make sure you guys are subscribed, turn on those notifications. If you're on X, guys, we appreciate this. Hit the repost button, hit the like button. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button. And if you're, of course, been subscribed but not getting those notifications, make sure you turn the notifications off and turn them right back on just to recalculate that for you guys. But
yep.
No, I think we'll be working on some Bitcoin videos today, some crypto videos here today. Maybe altcoins we're accumulating.
I got to drop that Cardano alpha, man. I got to pour through the Hoskinson live streams basically and find the best clips for you.
Yeah, folks. And let me actually pull up. I'll let them know in 2 seconds. But TJ, you had something to say.
No, I was just going to say good advice on the notifications. We do have the co-founder of Aave coming on the channel this week. It's been rescheduled a couple times. We're really excited about it. If you guys have any questions you would like us to ask him about Aave and some of the stuff that they've got going on, make sure to drop it in the comments below.
I bought at 200. Why'd it keep going down?
Yeah, not questions like that.
Oh, okay. I want to know.
I'm sure we have a lot of questions for him.
Anytime you have a $1 billion founder leader, like we've had Charles Hoskinson on, you know, the larger the market cap, the less likely they're going to talk about price action.
Exactly.
That's just how it goes, folks.
For legal reasons and regulatory
I don't expect
reasons
Vitalik to come on and be like 2000 on this date. That would never, ever happen.
No, but I am interested. And speaking of Vitalik, we're supposed, I think next week, we're going to have Vitalik's mom on as well, which will be a fun stream. So
is that a joke?
No, that's for real. We're really having.
We're gonna have Vitalik's mom on.
Yeah, and she's got a Ethereum layer 2 thing that they're talking about. So we're setting up some really interesting guests. I mentioned
how many Flintstone vitamins did you give that kid? Like 87 a day?
Yeah. What was it like raising a super genius?
Did his head just rip? Never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah, it looks like it's just a White House press pool today, so we don't need to watch the press secretary because I just know I'll get heated from.
Well, what's her face? Was it Caroline Leavitt?
Yeah.
She kind of tears it up there sometimes.
No, she does, but it's going to be the reporters just ask the same questions, and we're going to know her answers. She's not going to have any insight on.
Ducey, sit down, Ducey. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's not going to be like, you know, questions against sovereign, you know, wealth funds or terror. Like it's going to be vague. So I'll let you guys know. You'll see us live here tonight, and yeah, let's crush it, guys. Let's crush it.
Can we get DZ's mom on next? Only if you hit the like button.